Good evening, everybody. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I did not wear my green today, but I know, but you're wearing it for all of us. So thank you so much. Appreciate that. Justin, can you please take attendance?
Joe Abdallah, Greg Kava, Victoria Ceylon, Stephanie Kolnick, Angela Machurulo, Alex McNaughton, here. Justin Ongley, here. Jen Pody,
Here.
Jane Sargent, Pete Tagley, Mary Weber, Christine Weidig.
Uh, Can I have a motion to go into executive session? Second? Thank you. Okay, all in favor? Okay, we're gonna go in. Diane, is your office unlocked? Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay. Welcome. Hi. Okay. So be it resolved that the Board of Education, in accordance with the Connecticut General Statute, Section 10-157, hereby elects Donald Shells, Dr. Donald Shells, to serve as the superintendent for the Chippewa Valley Regional School District number 12, commencing on July 1st, 2025. May I have a motion? Second? All in favor? Aye. This is very exciting. Be it further resolved that the board chairman be authorized to execute the employment contract on behalf of the board with respect to Dr. Donald Shells' employment as superintendent of schools. Second? All in favor? Aye. And lastly, be it finally resolved that the Board of Education terminates the search process for superintendent of schools and dismisses the superintendent search committee. May I have a motion? Second? All in favor? Okay. So with all of the technicalities are done, the Region 12 Board of Education is proud to announce the appointment of Dr. Donald Shells as the new superintendent of schools. Dr. Shells has served as principal of Chippewa Valley School for the past 4 years. Throughout his leadership, he has demonstrated a deep commitment to our students, staff, and the entire Region 12 community. He is a strong advocate for students and brings a clear understanding of the unique culture and needs of our district. Don leads with integrity, dedication, and a steadfast focus on what is best for students. The board is confident that under his leadership, Region 12 will continue to thrive and grow as he begins his next chapter. Please welcome me in joining Dr. Shells to his new role. Please. Would you like to come up and say a few words?
Thank you so much. Members of the board, community members, students, faculty, staff, friends, I'm humbled and honored to be connected to a place that literally has the finest teachers, staff, students, parents, administrators I've ever seen in 26 years in this field. And also the most supportive and highly functional board. These are all blessings. Thanks also, of course, to my family, some of whom might be zooming in from Vermont and New Jersey. I hope their cameras are off. No, I'm just kidding. To Kimberly, my better half, and to the many trusted colleagues I see here, I couldn't do much without the help and support of friends and family. When I was young and a student, I read history. Of course, that continued through my career as a teacher and continues to this day. Historical thinking is one of the lenses, and I think it's a helpful one, I've always used to make sense of what's going on. One theme or pattern that emerges in historical analysis is the perhaps paradoxical concept of continuity and change. Continuity refers to elements or aspects of a system that persist or remain relatively stable over time. But change, of course, refers to elements or aspects that evolve, transform, or are altered over time. I've been thinking about continuity and change here in Region 12. In some places, the forces of continuity are constantly at odds with forces of change. People cannot agree over what should stay the same and what should change. But in luckier places, and I'll suggest we're one of those lucky places, change coexists with continuity. And at times, change may even, again, this seems paradoxical, may even support rather than supplant cherished traditions from the past. When I was talking with our board about the superintendency, I shared a few stories. When I became the principal at Chippewa, I heard from 2 or 3 people from my past, people I knew when I was younger, then lost touch with, who reached out after seeing a press release and they said, "Not sure I ever told you this, but I graduated from Region 12. You better take care of that place." When I'm at concerts or athletic events or musicals, I inevitably meet people who tell me at some point during the interaction, I went through these schools and I wanted my kids in Region 12 schools. So many of our local dignitaries, board members, first responders, and public servants also report longtime ties with our schools. When I attend our Reich ceremony, I sense a solemn awareness of and reverence for tradition. I see Stephen Reich's father sitting next to the dugout at our baseball games. I see our senior citizens watching the game from their cars and beeping horns when we score a run or strike someone out. I see seniors attending our musicals and planetarium shows, and they tell me our schools have always been an important jewel in the crown of the community. I see our students playing together in unified sports and living a model of inclusion in our instruction that is the envy of the county and the state. I hear about the Aloha ceremonies at Booth, Burnham, and WPS, celebrating the rite of passage into 6th grade. I see the passion projects elementary students complete and the invention conventions they develop, helping them begin the process of finding out who they are and what they love. I watch our K-5 students cheer graduating seniors when those seniors visit the elementary schools during the week of graduation. I meet local artists and musicians at our concerts, local tradespeople at our bazaar. They always tell me about their affinity for the region. I listen to members of our Chippewa Senior Project Fund Committee, who are keepers of memory around our senior project program. Many of them graduated from or taught in our schools. Retired employees are seen on campus and at school events all the time. And each of our towns take fierce and justifiable pride in their wonderful schools and in local autonomy over those schools. Local autonomy has always been central to American political thought. We should celebrate all these connections and traditions. Over time, they take on an air of nostalgia and pass into our collective consciousness. They speak to continuity and they help ground us. At the same time, we know that one not need be an alumni or resident of the region to be an incredibly important member of our community. Much of our current might derives from forces of change. Change should also be welcomed and supported when it builds on the values that define the organization. We are so lucky under the auspices of that change to have so many incredible, beautiful children and parents joining our learning community, coming to us from surrounding towns whose students and families want to be part of the Region 12 magic. Some pay tuition, some join through agri-science, all are part of our tribe. When I watch all our children learning, playing, and creating, and problem solving, and growing together, I see a complete and powerful synergy between continuity and change. Our Agri-Science Center has already turned into a new tradition that merges with our past and heralds our future. We now have Little Britches on campus working with agri-science students to deliver equine therapy sessions that enrich the lives of the clients they serve. On another front, the Chippewa Valley Partnership connects young people who constitute the workforce of tomorrow with venerable institutions and merchants across our towns linking the past with the future and with all the change the future may bring. We have new cooperative sports teams that create fresh incarnations of a very old icon, the Spartan. Instructional change is heralded by a shift towards more student choice, richer student discourse, and project-based learning. My elementary colleagues deftly navigated the changing and at times complicated landscape of K-5 reading programs and implemented a brand new reading program called ARC that will move our young readers forward. We have a Link Crew program representing change in the name of enhanced belonging and inclusion. Our 3 primary schools are pivoting towards more joint activities to enrich student experiences like Flock Theater and our Primary Partners program. We do also face some daunting but exciting challenges and changes in the form of disruptive technology like artificial intelligence. Technology we should embrace and employ for the good of our project, which is, in the words of Ron Berger, last year's keynote speaker, to develop good people who do beautiful work. We're in the process of taking one of our proudest traditions, Senior Project, and paying its innovative promise forward by adapting its structure to modern needs. And together as a community, we will engage each other in discussions that respect each town's autonomy while finding ways to deploy that autonomy for the collective welfare of our students. Here in our region, continuity and change merge into our mission. Our mission is to grow together into a future that respects its past while it stimulates growth and awakenings. So finally, what I'm driving at is I want to suggest a big part of my job is to create conditions that allow continuity and change to merge into a vision we can all support. Our strategic plan is a powerful blueprint for where we are going. It promises growth and development to all within its reach. So I'm not starting from scratch. And I inherit a wonderful team and a vision upon which we can build. Visions must be built in inclusive ways together. Visions start with listening. Please consider me your listener in chief. I want to talk to the wise oracles from all our towns. I want to talk to teachers and students and parents and staff and administrators from every building. I want to benefit from their wisdom. I want to find the things we can all support and that are best for kids and turn them into our moral imperatives. Vision is essential and growth is non-negotiable as we respect change, but the stability of the region and respect for all stakeholders is important too, because we also respect continuity. Think of this metaphor. When we want to jump high, and we certainly do here in our region, we need our feet firmly planted on solid ground. Our solid ground is our continuity, and our leap or jump is our change. If the jump is done wisely, it will create higher levels of new solid ground, which adds to our foundation, completing a symbiotic circle. In closing, whenever I talk with students about our schools, I like to reference some Bruce Springsteen lyrics from the song Long Walk Home. You're lucky in these towns. They're a beautiful place to be born. That's the lyric. For us, it would be a beautiful place to learn, grow, work, play, or live. They wrap their arms around you. Nobody goes it alone. Thank you for entrusting me with the superintendency. I promise to maintain a culture where no one has to go it alone. I promise to love and respect our kids, parents, faculty, staff, and communities. I promise to take accountability for what happens. I promise to communicate clearly and with transparency with the board. I promise to stand by my charge when the going gets tough. Let's see what good we can do together, advancing my favorite slogan, Region 12, existing for a better world. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Don. I just want to offer an opportunity for any of our board members to say anything if they would like to. I want to be the only one about the excitement of Dr. Shell's joining us. Mary, go for it. Microphone. Hold on. Here.
I've been on the board for 21 years. not consecutively, but in the record. And I've been through, I don't know how many superintendents, but I think would be on those. Really, you merge well with the staff, and you've been principal, so you have good insight here, what the goals are, and I think you'll be a profit to all of us. You're here.
Thank you so much, Pete. Before we end with a little set, we're not ending. no. Before before we take a little break, Lori wanted to say something.
Okay. So we have one more thing to celebrate. Congratulations again to Don. But March, as you know, is Board Appreciation Month as well. And on behalf of the staff and administration, students, and the entire Region 12 community, we want to recognize each of you. All you do for our schools, our students, our staff, voluntarily, I might add. And as the Irish would say this evening, we are as lucky as charms to have you all here supporting us in our schools. So we know how you all appreciate the wonderful artistry of our students when we recognize them. So we have a special gift for you this year. We had student works of art reproduced from students from each of your towns that you represent. We hope you like them. You've probably seen them as you went around. There's some candies in there and a card, but I think you will really like the artistry that is framed. You're welcome. They're all different and unique. So the artist's name is somewhere. We labeled the artist's name on the back so you didn't have to pull it apart to look. Yeah. Good. We're glad you like it. We really appreciate all that you do. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I don't want, before we end, we're not ending the meeting, but before we break for celebration, I do want to just take a quick moment to acknowledge our boys basketball team for winning the state championship. It was really an amazing season. I know, look at the big grin over there. But we're so proud of all of their efforts and so proud of the hard work that they have done, and to see so many people at Mohegan Sun was really kind of amazing. So I just want to give a shout out to the boys and Coach Lefebvre for a job well done. And our amazing athletic director, Matt, thank you. You juggle a lot of balls in the air, Matt, and so you always do an amazing job. It's always seamless. So thank you very much.
Matt, after his soccer, field hockey, and basketball, when he's going to be looking to renegotiate his contract sometime sooner. But having been a part of the basketball season, and I'm sure that soccer and field hockey and baseball and track, I'm sure it's all the same, but I didn't get a close-up look at that. We've gotten a lot of press coverage, and if you notice, every single time our basketball players spoke this weekend, they didn't tout themselves, they touted each other. And they said, I knew this kid would come through, and I knew that kid had it in him, and we're so proud of this one. But they also each said, I'm so proud to be a part of this community. And it's just so true. We had a fan bus that went up, and it had students on it, it had teachers on it, it had senior citizens on it. And I think they were probably those students all very respectful, or we might have heard that they weren't from some of the adults. We always hear some of the fans of the other teams get inappropriate and make inappropriate comments, and Matt is always right there, making sure that our kids cheer and are into it, but don't get inappropriate. When you go to the semifinals, Mike Epps was there. Rich may have been there. I didn't see him, but certainly we are not paying him to, Mike Epps to go up there. So it's that Rich was there. So
Yep.
it's just a great community. See, there you go.
Well, that's
There you
really
go.
big. Thank you, Rich.
So I think it just, from our perspective, it just shows, and I think it shows these kids, as one of the kids said, our community comes out, they clap loud and they cheer loud. And I think that's great.
Thank you, Angela, for saying that. I will also just piggyback that one of the senior adults who took the bus I saw this morning, and she said to me, I cannot believe what an amazing group of kids were on that bus. So respectful, but had fun and were just really amazing. So it does make us so proud and feel like all of them are a little bit of ours, even though yours literally is yours. But he's ours too. We share them all. And all of them are so appreciative whenever we come. They thank us for cheering them on. They're just really so. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. Okay, let's have some cake. So let's take a few moments. That's what we do. Okay. Moving on. Calling the next meeting to order. Budget workshop. It is 7:00. Well, Justin's not here, but Stephanie's stepping in to take attendance.
All right. Joe Abdallah,
Here.
Greg Kava, Victoria Salem. I'm here. And Angela Macchiarulo, Alex McNaughton, Justin Ongley's not here, Jen Pody here, Jane Sargent, Pete Tagley, Mary Weber, and Christine Weidig.
Okay. Thank you. Budget workshop. So we're just gonna go through this. I think Alex, well, I just don't know if there's anything you had to say.
Ben, when we met with the Bridgewater Finance Committee, they sort of implied that anybody reviewed these numbers. And I honestly had not at the time. Well, yes. So I've got a couple questions about things, both positive and questioning. I mean, I've got a couple things underlined that I think look great. Particularly the debt service dropping almost 30%. Why did benefits go up 8% when salaries only went up 4%?
So that's where our medical and dental and vision insurance are budgeted. And we get a renewal every year from Anthem that dictates how much of a percentage they go up. So our actual percentage in our Anthem policy that is still not finalized yet, but they gave us at budget time 12%. It was increasing the premiums. So that 12% is why that category went up 8% was because of the biggest expenditure in the benefits category is your medical, dental, and vision, and we're expecting a 12% increase.
And they went up 12% in 1 year.
Yeah, we expect that after, no matter how hard I tried to make them give me the ceiling number, 2 days after we presented this, they say we may be looking at 19.9%.
Yeah.
Well, and Nicole knows the whole time I was saying, are we sure it's 12%? Because if you just talk to any other district, there were some that went 30%. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Just, I had our agent, one of the things we're doing now is working with other insurance companies to see what other kind of rates we can get from other places. So the benefit offerings are pursuant to union agreement. So I can't change what we offer, but we can change carriers. And so they're shopping it. And so far we've gotten back one response, which is the state partnership plan, which a lot of people question us all the time. Why are we not in the state partnership plan? And we just got that offer to move to the state partnership plan back, and it's a 27.5% increase. If we were to remove.
We have to use a Connecticut doctor for it.
So it's not necessarily a Connecticut doctor, but the partnership plan actually changes also carriers. So 1 year it may be Anthem, the next it may be Cigna. The network is smaller. So with our Anthem benefits that we currently provide our employees to the Anthem network, the network runs from New York to Massachusetts. And those are all in-network doctors. There's very few doctors that don't participate with the Anthem plan that we're in. If we were to move to the partnership plan, there would be a loss of some in-network providers. So that would be, it'd be dependent person to person to check to see if your providers are participate in the partnership plan. And if not, you would have to change doctors if we were to make that change. I don't see a reason to make the change when it's more costly, because I know that just from staff that I have interacted with specifically about benefits, I think that our staff values the Anthem plan, and that they have the coverage that we're provided. People experience seamless healthcare without a lot of pushback when they need, when you need to access your healthcare plan. It's usually a time of stress and anxiety anyway. So to not have to jump through a lot of hoops with the services that Anthem provides, I think is a value.
They do go to 19%. What will that do to this 8% number?
So I budgeted 12% in the medical. There's more lines than just that in the benefits, right? So I did budget the 12%. We also budget for a couple extra categories because we'll hire new staff and it may change. A teacher who's not on our benefits may come onto our benefits. A teacher who is on our benefits may come off. We could hire new staff that needs a family benefit opposed to a 2-person benefit. So until I get the final renewal from Anthem and I see who enrolls during open enrollment in May, I still won't know what our benefit costs are until that point. But one thing you might remember is last year, the legislature changed our 2% fund so that you can use it for any educational expenditures, not just capital reserve. So for some reason, I couldn't close the gap in this budget. Then I would ask the board to be able to dip into that fund to close the gap. But I've looked at the numbers and we're not going to accept the 19.9 from Anthem. We're going to negotiate. That's our worst case scenario with Anthem, and it's possible another insurer will come in and offer us something better. But I think that I can get Anthem down off of that 19.9.
Custodial went up, but is that because of adding another person?
So our custodial,
Went up 11.5%.
so we're in a new contract here with the custodians. We went through negotiations and we made several market rate increases.
That's right. I remember that. Yep.
And Alex, just so you know, this is not just for our district here. This happened, the benefits increase is happening everywhere. I know that in Danbury, our paychecks are lower because of the benefit increase. And it's just so significant everywhere.
The next number I want to talk about is staff training classified. It went down 38%. That is something I think that we should consider maybe spending much as we can on. I think training our staff and giving them the option is a good thing.
So what that line specifically is for, that's not for when you think about training, a paraprofessional to in paraeducator skills or, providing professional development to teachers or providing administrative staff with computer training. That's not what that line is for. That line is specific to a company that we outsource, trainings that are mandated by the state that the staff has to take online. So for instance, one of the trainings we take is bloodborne pathogens. And every year, every staff member has to sign on and take a training on bloodborne pathogens. So that line is specifically to fund that outside company that manages that online training for us.
That's the GCM.
My next question is about utilities. I see electric has gone way up, but propane and heating oil have gone down. Is that because we've switched how we're heating or cooling, or why is that?
So electricity is up because electricity market is up. Specifically the Eversource portion, because we are locked into a 5-year contract on the supplier side with Constellation. And I think that's just a statewide reality that the electricity market is up. The propane market is down. So we had 2 years ago, we had under budgeted significantly for propane. And last year was a correction where we overcorrected. So now we're bringing it back to where we're bringing usage back a little bit, but the cost of propane itself as in the propane market is much less expensive than the year we're in.
So that's why there's a 27% drop. That's great. I mean, I'm happy about that. And the heating oil is down 4%.
So the heating oil, we negotiate those rates
Yeah.
in January. So we already locked for next year and we locked lower for next year than we did the year we're currently sitting in.
You know, I just, on revenue side, I just have a question because I didn't quite understand on page 19. Tuition, non-resident students, tuition, agriculture town, tuition, agriculture state. The amount by the state, I know there's a footnote here that I should have probably read more carefully, but can you sort of explain how those numbers shift around? Why one has gone to 0 next year and the others have increased?
So what the legislature did coming into the year we're sitting in, the 24-25 year, is it passed a bill right at the end of the year that we were unsure of how that bill was going to come into legislation. So the legislation that came what we knew when we budgeted this year, we said, we know we're going to get the 5,200 per student we've always gotten from the state. And we think we're going to get this extra piece that the towns used to pay us. So last year we broke those amounts out. So we called it tuition science state. That was the piece of the town that the towns used to pick up. And then the AST operating grant was the 5,200. So now that it's been in practice for a year, what we have realized is that the state is calling it all the ASTE operating grant, and they're not separating it. So when the payment comes in, it comes in as one payment of the 5,200 plus the excess from the towns. So instead of breaking out again, now we've budgeted it on the ASTE operating grant line.
Oh, okay, I see. Okay. Yeah, because I only had been looking at the top 3 lines and it looked to me like we were dropping our income radically. Now that I see the full picture, I see that we're going up slightly. Okay. In the pupil expenditures, I noticed that we didn't have the year 24-25. Is there a reason for that? At page 24. We had the 23-24 and then the 25-26 projected.
There's no reason for it, and then I just forgot to keep it there, but I can tell you what it is.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Nice catch, Alex. You actually read this stuff.
Had a wonderful week.
Someone does have their eyes on this. 24, 25 was 29,487. So I did have it there. I didn't change the year. So the 29,487 is the 24, 25 year.
So then
Gotta push 'em all
24,
down.
23, 24 is something different
You
then?
have to push them all down.
They all move up one. Gotcha. I'm coming to a close here.
We'll fix that once this becomes the board's budget.
I think that is it. I did not go through the exhibits. Well, I'm sorry. Those are my questions. Thank you.
B,
I just had a question on page 2. It said, I noticed the increase, the town cost share increase was quite extensive for Bridgeport. What, unless I've just missed something, what causes that large increase? The number of students or the,
So the number of students that are from Bridgewater in our region as of October 1 went up, while the number from Roxbury and Washington both went down.
okay.
So they now have to pick up a larger share of the budget.
Now, is that local or is that everybody they pull in from inside and outside the
Local.
region? Pardon?
Local only.
Local only. Okay. It's certainly an eye catcher.
We're telling all people with kids to move to Roxbury from now on. If you
Right,
don't have kids, you're allowed to move to Bridgewater.
right.
Alex had all the questions.
Walt, I have one other question. It said you had 560 students total. I thought it was more like 580 or 90. Is it 560, the number of local students from the
Local.
3 towns?
Local students this year is 566.
Okay, so it went down a little. Yeah, okay. That's good. All right.
anybody else have any questions to bring up our budget? Nothing?
I just want to commend you,
Hmm.
the people that worked on this budget. It's a very good budget
Mhm.
and, kudos, for coming in with these numbers. And I don't know, except for Bridgewater, how anybody could be under the number they're getting this year.
Yeah.
And Bridgewater, it's a trade-off. They're gonna have more kids in the classroom and the synergy among the kids will be better. So it's, either that or we have to start building more mega mansions in Bridgewater to raise our grand list.
It's the nature of the beast.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, okay. So we don't have any other questions about the budget, very short budget workshop. I'd like to call a motion to adjourn. You need your mic.
I think the original purpose for these workshops was to make sure that we didn't have other things that people had priorities on they wanted to address or
Yeah, I
discuss.
understand
And
that.
I'm assuming that no one on the board has them, or they would have said something, and I'm assuming that nobody, no members of the public or anyone that brought anything to the attention of the district
No.
as to things they'd like to do. So
Yeah. No, I understand the point of the budget workshop because we don't want to have those surprises at the budget meeting where then all of a sudden we change our mind, which
which is what we don't want to do.
we don't want to do, but you avoid it and hope for the best. But I think it's a smart idea. So I appreciate that, Greg. Okay, so can I shoot? Yeah. Do you need a microphone? You need a microphone.
Oh, you did- okay.
I don't know.
I'm just wondering how much money do we get for special ed at this point?
Do you mean in federal and state
Yeah.
grants for special ed? So currently we get 2 special ed grants. One is known as IDEA 611. This year's funding for that is $348,000. And then we get IDEA 619, which is special education specific to pre-K. and this year's funding was 13,788. I have seen next year's preliminary numbers and they're about the same. What you do see in the news about cutting special education specifically in the state for the bill that just at the governor's desk, which I believe he signed for $40 million. That's specific to the excess cost grant, and we rarely get any excess cost grant funding. Because the excess cost grant is paid to districts whose special education costs for a specific student is in excess of 3.5 times the district's per pupil expenditure. So in order for us to receive any excess cost grant funding, we have to spend about $120,000 for a student in particular before the state will come in and fund the balance of that student. So we very rarely see any funding from the excess cost grant. Last year, we received $13,000 toward one student.
That's a good question. Thank you for asking, Mary.
All of the federal funding should disappear. Do you have any idea what the number would be altogether of the federal funds that we get right now?
About 500,000,
How much?
about 500,000. And that includes the special education funding we were talking about. The numbers that I gave on the IDEA grants, those are federal grants that are passed through the state of Connecticut. So although they're funded through the state of Connecticut, it's federally backed money. The excess cost grant is state money. The one that they're talking about in the news, the extra $40 million, that's specifically state money. So the federal funding that we would lose is just about all special education. We get a few extra federal grants there on page 20, if you want to look through the list, but it's $500,000.
Thanks. Just ask.
I guess maybe piggybacking on that, are we doing any scenario planning in the event that we see cuts in federal funding?
No, not immediately. I think that we're very fortunate. If you look at other districts' budgets, the federal cuts are a much larger part of their budgets. We could close the gap on $500,000 in various ways. And then we would plan for the following year differently. But if it were pulled out from under us, we could close the gap fairly easily. For instance, the 2% educational expenditures fund that we currently have has over $500,000 in it. And we also have capital reserve funds. Some of the beauty of the capital reserve fund is that, and the reason we continue to plan capital expenditures in our regular budget. So if we plan capital expenditures in our regular budget, this year it's $272,000. If for some reason, we came up short because a source of funding were to dry up or be taken away, we can shift those capital expenditures that are in our budget to one of our capital reserve funds. So I can come to the board and say, I want to take these out of our operating budget. I want to fund them with these capital reserve funds. That still gets the capital improvements done, but that also opens up $272,000 in our operating budget to cover whatever shortfalls come. So that's why, if you go back a few years when I first got here, one of my priorities was to make sure that we had good balances in our capital reserve funds. And that's something that I stressed that I asked the board to help build up. So we do have a good reserve balance, and that's what protects us. That's what if we didn't have those reserve funds, I don't know that we could bring in a 2.44% budget because I need to build in more contingency than we have. But those capital reserve funds that we've been able to build up, that is our contingency. It's also why a few years back under a different superintendent, the capital improvements in the budget were cut way back to $90,000. And that was a decision I didn't agree with because that only gave me $90,000 worth of wiggle room. So I do like to carry capital facilities in the budget so that we have that contingency should we need it.
Really, maybe I was just saying that maybe something that Bridgewater and Roxbury should do, right? And I say that, why?
We are not allowed. You're right. Because towns are allowed to do it, we're not allowed.
Yeah.
The towns can have a rainy day, but the towns can't lose money.
But can they, so when you receive a check, right, which sometimes you do, can you put that somewhere in an account and use that in case you get hit the following year? Yeah. Or if they get hit by the district because you have extra students, that wouldn't work. Yep. Yeah. No, I understand that. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. something to think about that. Okay, thank you. Any other questions? All really good questions tonight, so thank you. Motion to adjourn. Second. Thank you.